So the president's two top defense officials telling a House panel that the administration's strategy to fight ISIS in Iraq is simply not working. Defense Secretary Ash Carter saying the linchpin of the plan, which is to train Iraqi soldiers in terms of the numbers, is really not going well at this point.
Of the 24,000 Iraqi security forces we had originally envisioned training at our 4 sites by this fall, we've only received enough recruits to be able to train about 7,000, in addition to 2,000 counterterrorism service personnel. As I've told Iraqi leaders, while the United States is open to supporting Iraq more than we already are, we must see a greater commitment from all parts of the Iraqi government.
Joined now by Texas Congressman Mac Thornberry. He's the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee. Good morning, sir. Very good to have you with us today. What was your takeaway from all of this testimony yesterday in terms of where we are and what we need to do?
It was discouraging. I think, as you said in your intro, there's not really a plan for success. There's a lot of blaming the Iraqis, and some of that blame is deserved. But there's a lack of trust in the United States, and we are so tying our own hands, even in our efforts to help them, that it is unlikely, it seems to me, that things are going to change appreciably if we just keep doing the same things.
Yeah, you know, this is not the first time that we've heard from Ash Carter saying that he is distancing us from the Iraqis, from their inability to do it. And we also heard it from Josh Earnest. He said, look, this is their fight. And I can't help but take away from all of those comments, when you put them together, that there are discussions going on at the White House where they want to distance themselves from this, whether it, you know, in case it's a failure, and say, look, it wasn't our fault, it was theirs.
Yeah, and I'm very concerned about that. We have seen a history over the last 6 years of the administration pointing fingers and trying to deflect blame when things go wrong, rather than try to figure out what it takes to make things go right. And again, the White House, it's not Secretary Carter, it's the White House that says our advisors cannot go into the field with our troops. It's the White House that says we will not drop a bomb if there's any chance that there'll be collateral damage. So we put so many restrictions, even on the limited aid we give them now. I worry that fuels further distrust by the Iraqis and makes it inevitable they're not going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some success by the Kurdish Peshmerga forces in fighting back, and I can't figure out why we're so focused on training these Iraqi would-be troops who seem to have a lot of reluctance to fight for a Shia government.
Yeah, and so in the House-passed defense authorization bill, we say that if the Iraqi government is not inclusive, that the United States ought to directly arm not only the Kurds, but the Sunni tribes, because we have got to have effective fighting forces on the ground to push back against ISIL. Now, the administration's resisted that, but I think that's really going to be necessary if the government of Iraq can't get its act together.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be concerned about these 450 who've been added to this fight, because it feels like they're a compromise number from the people who want more and the people who want nothing at all. And that puts them in a pretty vulnerable position, I would think.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it goes back to the point you made right at the beginning, and that is the administration is looking to deflect blame, just do the minimum necessary, run out the clock, and then pass this mess off to the next president. And it's going to be a whale of a mess. And we're just talking about the ISIL part. Yesterday's hearing, we got on to the Iranian influence, what a mess in Syria, what's happening in Yemen. If you look at the whole Middle East, things are significantly worse now than they were 6 years ago, and there's no prospect of them getting better.
All right, we will see where we go. Congressman Thornberry, thank you very much. Good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
That shooter in a church massacre.